everyone. It's Colleen again. And as always, I'm struggling with that silly button on Instagram. It just doesn't want to be clicked all the time so that I can go live. Why does Instagram need its own Maharaja to go live? Why can't it just go live like everything else? Oh, well, maybe it's just me and my technophobia. Probably is. All right. So I conquered it, by the way. It's good. It's all good. Okay. So today we're going to talk about a little touchy topic of how to stay friends, even with them. Those people who want to help themselves to your preparedness efforts because they take no responsibility whatsoever for themselves. Yeah. That's fun, isn't it? Lots of fun. So how many of you run into people like that? I wonder. Where they say, I know where I'm coming in the event of a crisis. And they say it jokingly, but the fact that they would even joke about that makes you go, I wonder. Well, I took some notes today. I want some bullet points, and I want to make sure I cover everything because it's no secret. I could very easily be called zealous in my emergency preparedness efforts, and some lovingly or ignorantly, I don't mind which, may even call me paranoid. And that's okay. That's their view. They have a right to it. The bottom line is I'm ready for the majority of crises that could occur. As such, I have a great deal of peace of mind and fortitude. And, I just get to be peaceful about things. I'll never forget the day that it really settled in during COVID that things were going south. I was sitting on my couch and I was watching TV, and it just really settled in. This is it. All of a sudden, all of these movie stars and sports icons just became completely insignificant, all because of a virus. All of a sudden, what they thought about so-and-so and such didn't make any difference. And I thought that was rather interesting. Instead, what made a difference were people like myself and you who are out there preparing. You got that peace of mind, and that was worth gold. That was worth so much to so many that could sit back and have that peace of mind. I'm sure that a lot of people would have given a lot to have that kind of peace of mind. So clearly it's hard to be so prepared. We put up with a lot to be that prepared. With a lot of scorn and scoffing, a lot of sacrifice, because we'll spend money on that instead of, other things. And we typically stay under the radar of the notice of friends and family. I kind of do a delicate balancing act between some things I stay under the radar, and then of course, I'm doing this. Some things stay completely under the radar. It's obviously more difficult when you regularly write a public blog and you do videos. And yes, I'm doing videos. I am. I'm just trying to figure out how to edit them. Okay. I'm working on it. Do you want the videos or do you want the book? Update on the book. I kept saying September 1st, but it'll be September 6th is its official release date because Amazon has to do its approval stuff. So look for it on September 6th. Anyway, I'm sure that many other like-minded people can relate to when I share with you some of the following comments that I regularly hear from family, friends, and associates, especially if I'm just talking to a complete stranger about, what do I do? So there's that first comment translation that's basically they're saying I'm coming into your house and I'm helping myself. They say, when all heck breaks loose, I know where I'm going. You've got that. And then you have, why do I have to store any food and water? You've got enough to feed an army. And translation for that is, I absolve myself of any responsibility to take care of myself or my family because I can manipulate your good nature and take care of me instead. Meanwhile, I can purchase my boats and fancy cars and have a mortgage bigger than I can afford, go into extensive debt, and ignore any reasonable indications that I might be prepared or take personal responsibility. Yeah, I have a sore spot there, but I need to work on that because this isn't about being angry with them. It's It's about still getting along with them in spite of this thought process, and trying to bring them into the fold rather than wanting to shoot them on sight. Who goes there? No, I'm just kidding. Then you also have the other concept, I don't need to be prepared. I've got all the ammo I need. And that's really disturbing. That one just really bugs me, because that tells me that they don't have any north compass, true north on their compass, I should say. They're saying, when the going gets tough, I intend to forsake all of my standards of morality and ethics and murder and pillage to get what I want. I mean, that's essentially what they're saying when they say something like that. This is the one that really bothers me. I'd say this one probably bothers me the most, because they're twisting truths. They say, if you're a good Christian, I'm sure you'll share with my family in an emergency. Oh boy. Translation. They are saying, I have no need to comply with scriptural warnings on my own behalf, so long as there are others who will be obedient. I can ride their coattails and absolve myself of heeding the very same warnings that others have been given. Oh, and while you're at it, Kelly, you can also say my prayers for me, read the scriptures for me, get a college degree for me, and take over the care and nurturing of my family, right? Yeah. That one bothers me, because the insinuation is if I don't help you, I'm not a good Christian. And obviously, I'm showing God that I'm a good Christian. That wheat that I have stored in my house isn't about meals, just meals. It's about showing my God my obedience to him. It's just as important as the blood on the door of Passover. It's showing God that I'm going to listen to him, that I'm going to follow his commandments. So that's how I think about that one. Then you have the other line, why be prepared when everything goes south? I'm just going to die anyway. And I've heard this one a lot, actually, especially lately. And I bring up to them, you survived COVID just fine, right? Or Hurricane Katrina, people did survive. But really what that translation is I choose to ignore the enduring to the end part of the scriptures. Instead, I get to choose to determine when my life ends, and I do not value my worth and my ability to help others in a crisis and beyond. I forsake that innate human desire for survival, perhaps even out of fatigue or cowardice, but definitely out of lack of faith that any good can come from surviving and helping others through a crisis. When I'm working on preparedness, I know that it's not just going to be for me. I know that I'm going to end up helping other people, and not because they take from me, but because I give. And that's a big difference. I'm doing something a little risque today. I'm actually doing this recording with the dogs in the same room. So I hope that wasn't a mistake. I apologize in advance if it was. We'll just see if they can behave themselves today. Chewing on my fingernails. Yes. Okay. Another line. Let me wet my whistle here for a quick second. The other line is, I don't need to be prepared for more than 72 hours. The government will provide for us just fine. So translation there is, I forsake my own accountability for the well-being of family and loved ones. I also believe in the Easter Bunny, socialism, and that pro wrestling is real. Oh yeah, and I also had no television, newspaper, or internet access during Hurricane Katrina and any other debacles that happened. And one more thing, I also dabble in fortune telling. As such, I know that there's no such thing as a disaster significant enough to last long term, such as a year or more. The recording that I posted today of the radio show that I did last Thursday was with a woman who survived a 6.8 earthquake in Armenia. I referenced this a little bit the last time I did one of these. And not only was it a year, but it was 13 years that they were out without power and running water. 13 years. It wasn't just without running water and power. It was without knowing where their next meal was coming from. It was hand to mouth. It was living in very harsh winters and them having to get extremely creative and even live dangerously to make sure that they had enough things to burn so that they could stay warm. The fact that we had COVID, in my opinion, was from a benevolent God. And I know that people died because of this. I know that it was very hard on people, but I think that it was a very benevolent dress rehearsal and saying, you know what, guys, wake up. Some bad things can happen. And I hope you're prepared for them. Um, and he did provide for us. He did take care of us. Eventually, it was all over, um, and many of us learned a thing or two from it, and that's all we can hope for, in my opinion. So that's how I feel about it anyway. Unfortunately, anyone who's made significant attempts, I should say, to be prepared, has heard all of this nonsense that I'm sharing with you before. And yet, for some reason, they struggle with that proper response to such naive and maybe even mean spirited remarks. And so, this is how I deal with it. And I wanted to share that with you. Um, First of all, understand that I love my friends. No ifs, ands, or buts. I love my friends and my family, of course. Um, Thanks, Paula. I appreciate you too. And I mean that. I love my family and friends, and I have been expanding my group of friends all over the years, the last 15 years through Preparedness Pro, and I can think of at least 5 people that are some of my dearest friends, and I only came to know them through Preparedness Pro. That's it. While family's been important to me, I've somehow been blessed with lifelong friends as well. In fact, my feelings of love and concern sometimes for one or the other are hard to differentiate at times. Lately, my circle of friends has increased significantly. I find myself reaching out even to friends from junior high and high school and employment from years past. And I believe the reason's due to the fact that my awareness for the need to be prepared for a real crisis has been heightened substantially. As I ponder the ramifications of an event occurring in our nation, I can't help but feel more connected to the people around me in a very humanistic way, knowing that they will struggle if they aren't prepared. And that concerns me for them. My heart literally aches at that thought. I know that witnessing their struggle may even be more difficult for me than the crisis itself. That being said, while my concern is genuine, I realize that I cannot argue with reality. So let's talk about these reality checks. First, reality check. There are a lot of assumptions made by a person who believes that they will be able to make it to my home for food, water, or other supplies. What's to say that they haven't moved by the time a disaster strikes, or that they are trapped in their home due to a nuclear blast or a pandemic quarantine for a long period of time? So, planning on having to go somewhere else in order to survive is not the brightest plan. That's the first reality check. Second reality check: sharing is voluntary. I'm sorry, but if I have a choice of bringing someone into my community who has been faithful and has done all that they could do to prepare and who can contribute to the strength of the survival of the community, then they're going to get first dibs on what I have to contribute. A community is only as strong as the weakest link. Can any community afford to take on a dangerous liability or vulnerability and risk the lives and health of others involved? A person who has willfully, belligerently, and defiantly ignored all reasonable warnings of preparation is not an asset to anyone else, especially to themselves, especially to the people that they love. They're going to be a liability to those that they love instead of an asset. And I would much rather ruffle a few feathers to help wake them up to that and get them on the right path than really ruffle some feathers and say, I'm sorry, I can't help you. Third reality check, and this I believe is the most important. Food and water is not the real security. They are only a material representation of the faith, confidence, knowledge, and mental preparation required for a person to survive an emergency. Confidence cannot be instilled into a hollow soul simply by will. And the same goes with faith and mental preparedness and extensive amounts of knowledge. So, as much as I wish to usurp the natural laws at times and give my friends and family a brain dump of my knowledge and the proper mentality I've acquired over the years to deal with the most unimaginable crises, I can't. And to do so would be to violate the eternal law of choice and agency. And those are the greatest gifts we've been given. I have this peace of mind, emotional and mental attributes solely as a result of my preparedness efforts, the actual purchasing of supplies, the preservation of food, the classes I've attended, the countless hours of research. It's not the other way around. Even more importantly, I've got to guard against the disease of fear. I simply can't allow the fear of someone else to infect the world of preparedness and peace that I've worked so hard to create. While material goods can be willingly shared, the peace and confidence which one seeks in the event of an emergency cannot. And it's only had by exercising faith and a commitment of action in response to that faith. See, it goes back to the 10 principles of preparedness. They can steal principle number 8 or maybe principle number 7, but they can't steal principles number 1 through 6, really. And those are going to be much more valuable. And they can't stock up on that, really. I mean, you can in physical preparedness and fuel preparedness, but not like you can on spiritual preparedness and mental preparedness and physical preparedness. You can't steal that. And yet you're going to need it significantly more than you will need water and food. So I hope that these thoughts assist some of you who may be postponing your own preparedness, as well as those who are encountered with the kind of opposition that I've shared previously. In closing, I just want you to remember this one phrase of wisdom. You can warn them, but you can't own their actions. So do your best to warn them. Be prayerful about how to warn them. Be prayerful about how's the best way for me to help them wake up. Let the Lord guide you. He'll probably be better at warning them than you will. He'll probably have better words than you will. But we need to speak up because we need to build preparedness of a community too. And we'll talk about that on the next installment of whatever this is. So I hope that's helpful for you. I will see you tomorrow. Take care.